A broadcast service of City College and the San Diego Community College District. This is Jazz FM 88.3 KSDS San Diego. I'm Dave Drexler with Inside Art. Support for Inside Art comes from the members of San Diego's Jazz 88.3 Miles 100 Radio.
Fingers are swinging, birds are singing.
This week on Inside Art, we'll meet the creator and star of the new play The Monsters at La Jolla Playhouse. But first, the Jazz Lounge is presenting a rare, intimate performance by one of the leading vocalists in jazz, along with one of its finest vocal accompanists. 9-time Grammy nominee Tierney Sutton joins forces with longtime Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra pianist, bandleader, and composer Tamir Hendelman for 2 sets celebrating their new album Spring from BFM Jazz. Spring is Sutton's 17th album as a leader or co-leader and her first voice piano duo project, a diverse collection of all spring-inspired jazz standards and unexpected pop reinventions. This intimate musical conversation quite literally springs from these artists' decades of collaboration as celebrated figures in the LA jazz scene. And here to talk about their new album and upcoming 2 sets at the Jazz Lounge on June 17th, I'm pleased to welcome both Tierney Sutton and Tamir Hendelman to Inside Art. Tierney and Tamir, it's great to have you both on the program.
Great to be here.
Well, Tierney, you haven't done this kind of format of performance in your career on record. You probably have done this in concert with your band and other settings, but tell us about bringing this to a recorded project.
Well, a lot of my band recordings feature here and there a piano vocal duet. I have a few of those in my Tierney Sutton band repertoire with Christian Jacob, some wonderful things that we recorded over the years. And very frequently I would do duets with all the members of the band. I'd do a duet with just the drummer or just the bass player. And in those settings, I would explore a little more freely my own improvisation and my own expression, rather than being framed by a more complicated arrangement that the band would create. And for many, many years, my 2 favorite duo partners to do concerts duo have been the great Shelley Berg and Tamir Hendelman. And I've had opportunities on several occasions to do duet concerts with Shelley and Tamir. And it's just the way that we express together and figuring out where to breathe. And I think part of it is one of the things that Shelley and Tamir both have in common, which is incredibly rare, is that they actually frequently know the lyrics. Almost always, not 100% of the time, but very frequently and way more frequently than most pianists. And the only other pianist on the scene that has that quality is the great Bill Charlap.
I was going to mention him as a possible example.
I just saw him in New York a couple days ago, actually. And so he's the only other one that has that quality. And so, yes, Tamir is an extraordinary vocal accompanist. But the interesting thing about that from my perspective in terms of when I'm singing is that I love the fact that Tamir and I function somewhat instrumentally together also, and that he sometimes interacts with me as if I'm a horn player, and other times as if I'm a singer singing lyrics, which is very deep. Both of those things are very deep skill sets.
So you both go back a number of years performing, knowing each other, getting to know each other as well on the bandstand and in recordings. Tamir, you've done a lot of work with singers. Most famously worked on tour with Barbra Streisand and Natalie Cole, among others. As you approach working with Tierney in this case, what do you appreciate most about her approach to vocalism and a duet with you?
As I mentioned in an interview about a week ago, one of my favorite vocalists is the great Bobby McFerrin, someone who I got to hear when I was about 10 years old in Israel. He did a solo concert, and I was so enraptured by the way that he got the whole audience on his side, got them to sing with him. I was able to sing harmonies, was able to create the sounds of many different instruments. And, the magic of being able to tell a story with words or not with words, is something that I really appreciate about working with Tierney, and the way that she uses the different parts of her range to express different emotions, to tap into different hues of songs, of stories that these songs have to tell. One of Tierney's first albums was called Unsung Heroes, where she celebrated instrumentalists, composers, and that approach, whether you're doing a song by Clifford Brown, like, the famous Joy Spring, or whether you're tapping into a deep ballad like The Peacocks, it's something that has a range that lets every performance take you on a full emotional journey. So that's, I think, one of the things that we strive to do.
Well, Tierney, as you put this album Spring together, were you thinking that you wanted to have all spring songs? Where did this idea come from?
Well, during the pandemic, Tamir and I started to work more deeply together. We had gone to Japan, we'd gone to Italy, we had done some concerts together before, but when the pandemic hit, we started to work more deeply together and do some streaming concerts. And part of the themes that we investigated for those concerts were seasons. I think Tamir is like me a little bit in that he's an enormous omnivore musically. He's just, it doesn't matter. It could be the vegan plate, or it could be the beef festival from Brazil. You don't know, but he's going to get into it. And so when he was trying to figure out what he was going to do for his solo streaming concerts, he might do an evening of Wayne Shorter, or he might do an evening of Johnny Mercer lyrics. So he was such an omnivore, and I'm a little bit like that. It's hard sometimes to focus and say, okay, we've got to focus. We've got to do this. And so the seasons were a very, very natural way for us to focus. And when we started doing concerts after everything opened up, I think the very first concert I did with you, Tamir, up at a retreat place up in Northern California, and it was very, very hot, and it was the summer. And we did a summer program, and we started experimenting with that. And very frequently in those years after the pandemic, we would say, let's do an autumn show. Let's do, a summer show. And the richness of the repertoire. And at that time, I was very, very close to Alan and Marilyn Bergman, who were like parents to me. And we just lost Alan last July. And so I was in sort of constant contact with Alan, talking to him and getting his advice about, have you ever thought about this song? Have you ever thought about that song? And so it was a fun and wonderful way for me to interact with my great mentor and get advice and see songs that I might not think of. And Tamir introduced me to some wonderful things that I wouldn't have, like the Dora Kaimi song Spring, that is indeed on our album Spring. So that's sort of how it came about. And it just seemed like a very natural way to create shows.
When lonely feelings chill the meadows of your mind, just think, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Be near the deepest snows and the secret of a rose is merely that it knows you must believe in spring.
Well, you do indeed have an Alan and Marilyn Bergman composition, You Must Believe in Spring, on the album Spring. And you also have 3 wonderful Brazilian songs, all of which I've enjoyed over the years. One by Dori Caymmi that you mentioned, and 2 Jobim classics, Double Rainbow and Waters of March. Tamir, maybe you can talk a little bit about the Brazilian contributions to Spring.
A stick, a stone, it's the end of the road, it's the rest of the stump. It's a little alone, it's a sliver of glass. It is life, it's the sun. It is night, it is death, it's a trap, it's a gun.
I've always loved Brazilian music, and I think I was first exposed to it in an unusual way. Growing up in Tel Aviv, I was listening to a whole variety of music, classical, jazz, some pop. And some of the Israeli pop singers and composers had spent some time in Brazil and brought back those harmonies with them. So I was always fascinated by the beautiful chord progressions, trying to figure out what keys they went to and so on. So when I came back to LA, after going to school and started playing with my trio, started playing with various vocalists, I also was in a Brazilian band for a couple of years, and some of my best friends are from Brazil. And that was a way for me to begin to get to know that music. And that's something that's come full circle with the collaboration with Tierney. Also, incidentally, I just did a recording with another wonderful pianist, Josh Nelson. That's going to be a quintet paying tribute to the music of Brazil with two pianists. But getting to play with Brazilian musicians, you learn about some of the more obscure repertoire, and you learn about some of the great songwriters. And Dori Caymmi came from a whole family. Dorival Caymmi, his father, and Nana Caymmi. And you just discover these rich musicians, Egberto Gismonti, Ivan Lins. So me and Tierney were listening to this recording that Dave Drexler was featured on, Spring. And it's always fun to think, how can you take something that's rather produced and beautiful and make it into an acoustic duo that's paced, that has a little hook, but that can breathe and go this way and that way. So that's part of the fun of this duo, is that we don't structure it too much. We leave room to see what each night will bring.
Spring holds in her arms a bunch of daffodils. The possibility of warmer days will arrive with the news you still love me.
And when you perform at the Jazz Lounge on June 17th, this is a great opportunity. It's a very intimate space, and so fittingly intimate for the type of performance you do together here.
Well, I mean, I think my approach to singing has always been basically, it's an intimate event for me, partly because I wasn't blessed with a huge voice. And so all of the arranging that I've done, all of the choices of musicians I've made in all these years has been about creating a frame for storytelling that is one that's hopefully transparent to telling the story, and allows my vocal limitations and expression to be centered in enough of a way to tell the story. And that doesn't matter if it's in a hall of, 1,000 people or a club of 40 people. I kind of think of it in the same way. And Tamir knows, often we'll be in a hall, a bigger hall, like in Wesleyan where we were last week. And I'll go in the hall and I'll think, you know what? It's just overall too loud. I don't want to be all up in people's grill. I want people to sit and breathe and hear us acoustically, hear what we do, whether it's a big room. And, we're doing a concert outside at LA Museum of Art this Friday. And I'll have the same sensibility. I'll want to draw people in. I'm not going to try to be so big. It's really about creating music. And Tamir has been described. He's an orchestra. He's a one-person orchestra, and there's enough sound, whether you're playing a ballad, whether you're playing an up-tempo thing, whatever it is. There's enough sound. Let people come to you. So for me, it's the same, but it can be extra sweet when it's a tiny tiny place like that.
Well, before we go, Tierney and Tamir, I would like to explore one other piece that's on the Spring album, and I think you do this in concert as well, and a very surprising edition of the Paul Simon 1960s piece he did with Simon and Garfunkel, of course. April Come She Will, brilliantly conceived and executed there as a duet.
Well, I'll tell you, that's my favorite on the album, and that was a spontaneous Tamir invention in a live show we did of Spring a few years ago, and I immediately fell in love with it. And I mean, we honed it just a little bit here and there, but basically the map of the ostinato and the figure that Tamir came up with was just one of those magical things that I knew this is the arrangement. This is the arrangement. And you can do anything you want on the solo, but this is the arrangement, and this is how these lyrics are framed, and this is how I want to sing it. And it just was a really, really beautiful arrangement. And that was Tamir's inspiration. And maybe I added a few things of, let's add a bar here and let's do this, but it was a collaboration that made that magic. And that's been my experience in the years with my own band. When things really gel, it is that spontaneous coming together of an idea that one person has that melds with the sensibility of the other, and then something that is more than the sum of the parts emerges. And I feel that way on that one.
Come she will, when streams are ripe and swelled with rain. May she will stay, resting in
Is that song something that goes back many years for you, Tamir?
I think that was a new song for me, but I know that every time we do it, it's a little bit of a meditation. It's a moment in the show where the audience just kind of takes a breath and just slows down. And I think one of the things I really enjoy about our shows and our concerts and our music making is, like I said before, that sense of contrast. The breadth of emotion that you can travel, that, going from something as meditative like that to something as bright as Joy Spring, and bringing the audience with us on that journey.
Well, we're looking forward to that wonderful journey of Tierney Sutton and Tamir Hendelman in a duet setting at the Jazz Lounge in the Rolando College area on June 17th. Thank you both again for joining us on Inside Art.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's merely that spring will be a little late this year.
Tierney Sutton and Tamir Hendelman perform Wednesday, June 17th at 6:30 and 9 p.m. at the Jazz Lounge on El Cajon Boulevard in the Rolando College area. Space is limited and tickets are available at thejazzlounge.live. You can also purchase Spring, the new album by Tierney Sutton and Tamir Hendelman, from BFM Jazz at tierneysutton.com. Coming up, we'll meet the creator and lead actor from the critically acclaimed new play The Monsters at La Jolla Playhouse. And Guzzy Anyanwu joins us next as Inside Art continues here on Miles 100 Radio. Funding for Inside Art comes from the members of Jazz 88.3, where your support brings the joy and history of jazz and all of the arts to San Diego. To become a member, visit jazz88.org/donate.